world? I want to know. She is heavily involved in the Time's Up movement. You mean that movement that was birthed from Me Too, and Me Too is currently falling apart because of accusations of anti-Semitism. Continue. Was one of the first actors to adopt an inclusion rider in her contract, mandating diversity in casting and production staff. What exactly does that mean, diversity in casting and production staff? I'm really getting tired of words like representation and diversity being used as these buzzwords that we're all supposed to understand, yet there's no clear definition of what it's supposed to be or what it means to be diverse or represented. And is a vocal advocate for representation in the media. Again, that's very vague. What do you mean by that? As she begins her global Captain Marvel press tour, she has pledged to spotlight other women behind the scenes, insisting on gender and racial parity. Let me explain something. Rule of life. Parity, true balance, and equality will never happen. People are too varied, people are too different, our circumstances are too different, and people are too damn competitive. Nobody wants to be the same. You want to be better than others, but nobody wants to be the same. Okay? You can advocate for justice, you can advocate for fairness, but trying to advocate for equality is like trying to advocate for the sky to be purple. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The sky's natural color is not purple. It will never be purple. She has pledged to spotlight other women behind the scenes, insisting on gender and racial parity in the press, and wearing mostly female designers. Now, I want to focus on something here. It says that she pledged to spotlight other women behind the scenes, and is wearing mostly female designers. Am I wrong in saying that sounds a bit sexist? That it sounds a bit anti-men for her to focus on putting the spotlight on other women? Now, she's not saying that these other women are getting the spotlight because they're talented. It's just to spotlight other women. And she's not saying that she's wearing these female designers because she really likes their clothes. Only because they're mostly female designers. That, in my estimation, to favor somebody solely because of their gender, for no other reason but, is sexist. We all know that if a man said that he was going to spotlight other men behind the scenes, and he was going to wear mostly male designers as a sign of support, he would be crucified in the media. That would be seen as him being a sexist pig. So why is that okay for Brie Larson here? Why is it okay for her to almost, I would say almost exclude men, because she does say mostly female, but why is it okay for her to show this primary concern, right? To primarily favor women over men for no other stated reason than woman. This is the type of thing that makes people dislike Brie Larson. This is the type of thing that turns people away from the movies. Inclusion has to be a choice. It's not happening naturally. Wrong, it was happening naturally. Now the type of inclusion and diversity and representation we're getting is forced. And forced diversity is not true diversity. Larson says bluntly, you really have to fight for it. We did in the 60s and 70s and in part of the 80s. By the 1990s, things were improving a lot in this area. And then 2010 happened or something. And now you have a bunch of younger people, millennials, who think that they're changing the world by complaining so much that they roll back all the advances we made. Anyway, to that end, Larson has high hopes to make that vision a reality. My next goal is to start a school to train people in various jobs, she says. Realizing the breadth of positions on a film set, she wants to create a channel for equal opportunity through a vocational program. Okay. There are so many great jobs. You like the weird alien blasters? You can be the one who makes them. Look, I would love I love prop masters. But something you have to understand, Brie, is that prop masters are going to slowly, if they're not already, going to become a dying breed because it's probably cheaper, or if it's not, it's going to get cheaper to simply green screen and CGI blasters as opposed to make actual props. So that's probably a field in film that's going to be dying out as like anything else, right? At one point, 2D animation was the animation. Now 2D animation is a dying art, at least in mainstream animated films, because 3D is cheaper, 3D is easier, 3D is faster, 3D catches people's eyes more. Why do you think that Princess and the Frog, if I remember correctly, Princess and the Frog was basically Disney's last chance, last gasp at making an argument for keeping 2D around? That film, while certainly not bad, didn't do as well as Disney wanted, and now ever since then Disney's films have been 3D because that's what's in now. And as techniques and technology improves, sadly, some jobs, some styles become obsolete. It's the nature of progress. To improve, you must discard the old. At least when it comes to technique. Anyway, you could be the one who makes them. We need young people to carry on this tradition in movie making, and it would be so great if we had more diversity coming in through that. Shouldn't the concern principally be to have people who can do the job and do it well, especially since, again, I think it's going to be one of those things that is going to become more specialized and over time because, again, it's going to be dying out as time goes on. Your focus should be on meritocracy and making sure that the people in these programs get a proper education, not the diversity that nobody has a clear understanding on. She believes that if a studio can buy into the program, she can help facilitate a clear pathway and start building a more representative creative experience. What does that even mean? I don't want to be successful surrounded by a bunch of people who look like me. No, just people who think like you, which is probably worse. That doesn't feel like success at all. She's already started with her upcoming film, Just Mercy. It's one of Warner Brothers' first movies to implement her and co-star Michael B. Jordan's inclusion writers. I have been acting for 20 years, and it was the first time I had a majority of people of color on my team. Yay? Why is this a thing worth praising or talking about? Why aren't you mentioning these people's skills? Why are you bringing up or at least hinting at the color of their skin? I mean, people of color can mean anything, but I don't understand this focus on it. It's not impressive to me. Perhaps in the 60s or 70s that would have been groundbreaking, but we don't live in the civil rights era anymore. We are post the civil rights era. This is not impressive. This is like being impressed that Will Smith is a good actor for a black guy. Say that to anybody today and they would call you a racist bigot. It's not impressive anymore. It isn't about race anymore. It's kind of like what what's his face? Morgan Freeman said. Stop talking about it. With everything Larson is dedicated to, I wonder how she manages it all. Balance is sort of a ridiculous concept, she counters. It's not like you find balance and you're done. You're always trying to find it. Okay, actually something I can agree with her on. So she takes a more simplistic approach. She prefers Levi's. Aren't Levi's made by men? To Balmain, takes hikes with her mother, and is teaching herself how to knit. Instead of glam-ridden selfies, her Instagram is strewn with inspiring quotes and snapshots of friends. Okay, that's nice. She's also very real about what she can handle and what she's afraid of. I just want to go back to this part for a moment. Is teaching herself how to knit. Is knowing how to knit feminist or unfeminist? I want to know. Because it just seems surprising that such a a feminist hero who's supposed to be challenging, all of these gender norms and whatnot, and challenging expectations, would do something so stereotypically female as knitting. But anyway, I don't think you overcome self-doubt, she says. I think it's something you listen to. She listens, sometimes has a meltdown, then orders Postmates. I have no idea what that is. She's realistic and fallible, but undeniably persevering. She may want to bring that across more in her facial expressions. As we finish our evening, I ask Larson if she is satisfied. Probably not, she admits. Oh, that's good. You should always be hungry for better. She still has a lot to do, like writing more screenplays. But I do feel satisfied about eating all that pizza. Okay, so that's just the article itself. That's just the article. So, as you no doubt noticed, I went in hard in the paint. I went all in on this article. There's a reason why. Because I am so tired of all the grandstanding and all the posturing from the MCU and from Sana Amanat and from Brie herself and from all the shills about how this is some sort of a special or grand movie that is somehow going to bring the character of Carol Danvers back to prominence, or bring her to prominence. Let me share with y'all a blurb from Wikipedia regarding the Captain Marvel run from 2006 to 2010. Not Captain Marvel, sorry, Miss Marvel run. That was from 2006 to 2010, back when Brian Reed wrote for her, aka the last time she was a good character. So let's see what a writer who cares about the character, who has a good understanding of the character, was able to do for the character. It has been noted that Danvers' initial appearances portrayed her as a strong character, so she was always intended to be strong. So we see that here. Remember, she's a character. She became Miss Marvel back in the late 70s. But that changed over time, even after she gained superpowers, just so you know, this is all from Wikipedia. When Miss Marvel received her own title in the 2000s, that being 2006 to 2010, Marvel Comics was determined to have the character take center stage in the Marvel Universe. So that was intended for her to take center stage, so as we see here, with Joe Quesada and the other powers having had the character play major roles in their huge House of M crossover, in the New Avengers, she also, and in the gargantuan success that is Civil War. Writer Brian Reed has had Miss Marvel overcome worthy challenges ranging from alien invasions, time-traveling sorcerers, and former teammates turned enemy. Brian Reed's characterization of Miss Marvel in the War of the Marvel story arc, which personally is one of my favorite story arcs from his run, has been said to be an engaging mix of bravado and aggression juxtaposed with compassion and empathy. So let's just cover this for a moment. So Brian Reed, who's probably, objectively speaking, the best writer for Carol, because he was able to have her comic go for 4 years in the mid-2000s, 2006 to 2010. He was praised, right, for having Carol overcome worthy challenges. He had Miss Marvel overcome worthy challenges ranging from alien invasions to sorcerers to former teammate to a turned enemy. He also focused on characterization, right? In particular in the War of the Marvel story arc, which was an engaging mix of bravado and aggression juxtaposed with compassion and empathy. Do you get any sense of that from the trailers? A mix of bravado and aggression juxtaposed with compassion and empathy. Do you get any sense of that from the current comics? Right? Bravado and aggression with compassion and empathy. Because I know that I don't. I've seen the trailers. I read the comics. I don't get this sense of personality out of Carol. I don't get this sense that she's truly overcoming worthy challenges that help a person grow, that make you stronger for it. All Marvel has been doing ever since the end of Brian Reed's run in 2010 is writing Carol from a place of weakness. And if you don't believe me, let me show you something else. This is a list that I compiled from Wikipedia, which is called the Carol Danvers Solo Series Runs. So let's take a look. When she was Miss Marvel, she had 2 solo series runs. Her initial one in the 70s, from 1977 to 1979, so around 2 years. The writers during that time were Jerry Conway and Chris Claremont, both well respected in the industry. Chris is my personal favorite because of his work on X-Men, but he also did amazing work with Carol in this run, and with when he would feature her in the X-Men books. You know, he's the reason why she has the binary form and whatnot. And then you have the Miss Marvel solo run that I was talking about, right? And that ran for about 4 years, and Brian Reed was the writer, right? He was the writer of what is currently the last Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers Miss Marvel solo series run. Now let's take a look at her run as Captain Marvel, right? So Captain Marvel, when she's rebooted in 2012, is from 2012 to 2014. Ran for about 2 years. The writers were Kelly Sue DeConnick. And by writers, I mean just writers who appeared during that run. Not necessarily that they worked together. But Kelly Sue DeConnick, Chris Sabella, Jen Van Meter. So that's the first one. Here's the second reboot. Right? Here's the second reboot now. Captain Marvel, 2014 to 2015. 1 year approximately. Writer, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Kelly Thompson. Captain Marvel again, right? Third time now. Third attempt at a solo series. 2016 to 2017. 1 year approximately. Writers, Tara Butters, Michelle Fazekas, Ruth Fletcher Gage, and Christos Gage. So that's 3 now. From 2012 to 2017, 3 attempts at a solo series that went nowhere. The longest one at that point had been 2 years. The Mighty Captain Marvel, right, 2017 to 2018, ran for about a year. Writer, Margaret Stoll. The Life of Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel. I'm going to put them together because Life of Captain Marvel was a huge, in my opinion, disgusting retcon of her backstory to reinvent the character and justify her appearance in Captain Marvel. So, Life of Captain Marvel, miniseries, less than a year. Writer, Margaret Stoll. Captain Marvel, current writer, Kelly Thompson. So, let's see here. 4 years. Brian Reed kept the story going on his own for 4 years. We're here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to count the last 2 together as 5. 5 reboots. 5 attempts at a solo series. From 2012 to present. In less than 7 years. Marvel's current crop of writers, in particular, Kelly Sue DeConnick, who's had 2 attempts, Kelly Thompson, who's had 2 attempts, and Margaret Stoll, who has had 2 attempts, can't get the job done. They cannot make Carol work. They cannot make this version of Carol work. It's a sinking ship. None of these writers have been able, in the Captain Marvel, I mean, to keep the story going for any real length of time. But these last 3 right here, they have 6 attempts total, with 2 attempts each between them. They are the 3 most influential writers because they appear the most on Captain Marvel's books ever since the reboot, and they have not been able to make the story work. 5 reboots, 5 re-releases in less than 7 years. It's not working. It is not working. This is a sinking ship. Captain Marvel is Carol Danvers, I should say. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, is a failed project. Again, 6 times. Right? Each of them writing for her twice. Get nowhere fast. Get nowhere important. Brian Reed keeps it going on his own for 4 years. Chris Claremont, amazing writer, is able to write for Carol, help establish her in her original run. Created some of her most iconic storylines, such as when she called out the Avengers for allowing her to walk off with Marcus He's the one who created her binary form. He's the reason why she was attacked by Storm. Right? So he created all of these iconic moments for Carol. Jerry Conway has the honor of being the first person to write for her. Brian Reed probably wrote the best run overall for her. And these last three right here can't get it going for nothing. Because Captain Marvel is a failed project. People, these comic fans who are willing to spend money, comic fans who are interested in the character and not in cosplay, are not buying it. We don't like Carol as Captain Marvel. This has failed. If you want to save the character, you need to get her back to Miss Marvel. You need to make her likable again. These three writers should not be allowed anywhere near Carol Danvers ever again. But that's just my opinion. That's just me. If it were me, I would get Claremont and or Reed back on it immediately. But I would never, ever, ever, ever let these three near her again. But again, that's just me. So that's my review, response, if you want to call it. Nearly an hour long, but I had to deep dive into this. I had to tear this apart because I am so tired of the shilling. I am so damn tired of the shilling. So if you were willing to sit through this for this long, please tell me what you think. I hope you have a good evening. Good night.